How preposterously divorced from reality can a car company actually get? Find out next. New Honda Civic will debut next week. Just one model variant in the range, like fully loaded, 4 colours, black, white, red and blue. And I know black and white are not technically colours, but knock yourself out in the comments anyway. Same size, same weight, same engine, essentially. No real innovation with this car compared with other contemporary cars, and somewhat less ugly, I guess, than the outgoing shitbox which it replaces, which, let's face it, was clubbed all the way down with the ugly stick. Honda Australia is like a cockroach that's had its head ripped off in the GFC, and the bad news has not even yet sunk in. Nothing remarkable at all about this car, really, except the price. $47,200. That's a $16,200 price rise. In the immortal words of a dude wearing green underpants and a mask, holy shit, Batman! I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, and I get new cars cheap for buyers here in Australia. I wear those underpants, exactly those, well, not exactly, underpants like that is where I'm going with this. When I do that too with the new cars, just saying. I'm wearing them now, as a matter of fact. Website for that, obviously. Keep it clean. Or you can click the card that is stuck up there, somewhere up there now, near the roof of the turd mine occasionally. This car, okay, the new Civic, this is what happens when toxic waste leaches into the water supply at Tullamarine. Suggest. I would flat out love it to be a fly on the wall following the convoluted trail of so-called logic, which concluded that this whole concept was a good idea. See, last week you could buy old ugly poverty Civic for about $31,000. If you want a Civic next week, you have to buy the top of the range, right? And there is only the top of the range, so I guess it's also the bottom of the range, but it's fully loaded anyway. And you have to pay $47,200. Now, dude, if you're a Honda file, I get that. Perhaps you think I'm being unfair with this $16,000 price rise. Last week, okay, if you bought the range-topping Civic RS, the outgoing one, it was $39,600 drive away. The new one, $47,200. I can't represent it any more fairly than that. This is a 20% price hike. In the current market, that is clinically insane. Now, the same car in Japan, all right, it's 3.54 million yen, which is about 44,000 Shitsvillian micro pesos. Japan has the same 10% consumption tax as our GST, essentially. And there's a free trade agreement between our nations, so there's no import duty on that car. These cars come from the same factory. The steering wheel's on the same freaking side. The tax rate is the same. It sure as shit does not cost $3,200 to ship each one of them here. Not in bulk at the kinds of shipping rates which car makers enjoy. Civic production for Australia is shifting back to Japan from Thailand on this one too, just in case you were wondering. I guess this is all part of the kaleidoscopic MDMA-like Honda shit price promise. One price wherever you go. No more haggling or shopping around for the best price. With the Honda shit price promise, you'll always pay the same price for your new car, no matter which Honda centre you visit. We believe it's a much more transparent and enjoyable way to buy a car. Dude, how much of the special Kool-Aid do you have to slurp to start believing that horse shit? Transparent and enjoyable? Transparently nuts. Can you imagine if Kia had given birth to a new Sportage recently with a 20% price hike? Or if the i20N cost, 20% more than the Fiesta ST? Media feeding frenzy, I'd suggest. As for enjoyable, that's the other claim. We believe transparent and enjoyable, right? Hands up everyone who enjoys a 20% price hike on a new car. Hands up how you feel if you've been a long-term Civic buyer. If you've had a string of base model Civics quite happily for the past several years, and now the barrier to Civic entry just jumped 16 grand. Betrayed is how you would most probably feel, I'd suggest. If this new Civic were a hybrid and it cost $7,600 more, fair enough. In the immortal words of plastic-fingered serial masturbator Chucky Marstein, remember him, I accept that. Only it's not a hybrid, is it? There might be a hybrid later in 2022, if we get it, and it'll cost more, like shit price promise. This is a notionally small car, okay? The same size as a Mazda 3 from those deceptive and unconscionable bastards at Mazda Australia. This is just what happens when the ACCC awakens momentarily. They're always so dead set cranky first thing. Mazda 3 is so Civic-like that it's really not funny. Like, if you landed here from Proxima Centauri tomorrow, you would easily conclude at first glance that they were the same thing, these two cars. But after substantial probing, which, let's face it, is really why you came all this way, just admit it, dude, you would notice that the range-topping Mazda made more power and torque, has a bigger fuel tank, was slightly lighter, and you can have it as a sedan or a hatch, whereas the Honda is only a hatch. And the Mazda is available with a manual or a conventional torque converter automatic transmission, whereas the Honda is CVT only. I freaking hate CVTs personally. They just drone endlessly. But they do save you fuel, and to some people that really matters. And in this case, the saving is going to be 4.5%. compared with the automatic Mazda, based on the official laboratory standardised fuel consumption tests. But if you buy the manual Mazda 3 Estina, then the fuel economy is going to be equal to the new Civic, so there's that. The automatic Mazda 3 Estina is officially about $43,200 drive away, but there's no Mazda shit price promise, is there? Thankfully. So even if you are truly the world's most shit negotiator, all you have to do is manage to mumble, something like, "Mate, me girlfriend's gonna cut off me Nazi voice, spend more than 40. That's all you have to say. This is a game, you are playing it, and pro tip, she has to either be standing right there, holding a dirty big fat pair of rusty scissors with a certain stern gleam in her eye, or alternatively, she could be completely absent and uncontactable by phone at the time so that the salesman just can't call her up and go to work on her, right? This is a game. It's a game, except if you do spend more than 40 grand and then you fall asleep without having locked the scissors away, and that could get serious quickly. The point I'm making is that you will get the Mazda for less than 40 grand, okay? So there's a $7,000 price gap, and for the life of me, I cannot see $7,000 worth of objective reasons to go with shit price promise. I just can't. If you want something properly speedy, let's say, you can buy an i30N manual for 47 grand, same price as the new Civic, and that is a proper trouser TP car. Like, dude, it really is, the rev matching. You can also buy any one of half a dozen hybrids if you want to rock a green car instead, or even an MG ZS EV. And you drive away there, electric dreaming for $2,000 less than the new Civic. The point I'm making is shit price promise is right on the money with this one. This is objectively a shit price, and they are promising to stick to it. I don't know why. If you want an equivalent competitor, the Mazda 3 range topper is $7,000 cheaper in practice. If you want more performance, the i30N manual's the same price as the new hairdresser's Civic. And if you want an eco car, you are burdened by a vast choice of greener alternatives at the same price or less. Honda has its nuts in a vice, and this new Civic is a classic case of nice styling, but no fundamental innovation. Honda has frankly lost the ability to innovate, and they did that this century. And this is one of the great automotive tragedies of the early 21st century, because we're talking about the friggin' inventor of VTEC. Like, come on. All those Type R cars from the 90s and the early noughties. Pretty good. Mazda is what Honda was today. Things change. That's just, how this rocks. The double whammy here is economics, right? The price is nothing more than a slap in the face with a dead friggin' mackerel. And that's only enjoyable if a somewhat stern German woman is doing it. And you remember the safe word, obviously. It's the only time I've ever enjoyed that kind of thing. Honda engaged in a mass dealer boning ceremony 5 long months ago now, during lockdown, down under. It announced the shit price promise at around the same time, early July or something. Since then, right, sales have friggin' tanked. And by tanked, I mean they have plummeted to their lowest level since record keeping began. You don't have to like this, incidentally, if you're a Honda file. It's a fact. That's the beauty of facts. They don't care how you feel. And car buying, right, it's a strictly democratic process. New car buyers like you vote, don't you? You vote with your cash. And it seems to me that the Australian car buying public has voted on this cockamamie concept of paying the shittest price every time on every Honda. It's our promise to you, transparent and enjoyable. One aspect of this that is neither transparent nor enjoyable, however, is the softball treatment of the price hike on the Civic in the mainstream motoring media. Honda deserves a proper sandpaper enema on this, okay? 60 grit minimum in my estimation. But really, in the mainstream media, they don't cop that, do they? The media reports the facts sometimes, like the price has gone up or something, but we wouldn't want to offend a potential frickin' advertiser, would we? So they kind of smooth it over, they tone it down, they keep our mates in the car industry sweet. For a journalist to offer an objective opinion about this trajectory which Honda has chosen to set itself on, which appears to target, incidentally, the Marianas friggin' Trench, ultimately, well, that's the publishing equivalent of committing apostasy. Ask me how I know that. Advertising is the mother of all bad media incentives, right? It turns journalists into a bunch of fluffers working to pump up, in this case, car makers. But this happens across all the spectrum of the media, okay? You wouldn't want to offend Jerry Harvey if you owned a radio station, for example. If you see a Honda ad on the page, right, you can guarantee that they will strive to keep Honda sweet. And the biggest casualty in all of this process is you in the audience who just wants impartiality and evidence-based conclusions and opinions and things of that nature. The new Civic, I'm sure it's an okay car. That's as kind as I can be. Like, as a car, standalone, take the price out of it, good enough. Not particularly special, looks better than the predecessor, that's always nice. Like, we did its hair and makeup and we bought it a new dress. Yes, kind of thing. But the price is frankly an insult, an intelligence insult. It takes this car off the table if you have at least 3 rational neurons still firing upstairs, right? It makes this car just another nail in Honda Australia's coffin. And they don't need to hammer too many more of those in before there's going to be no escape.